Hi everyone, Marissa with Linguabilities here, and today we're going to talk about the top 8 questions that I get about online therapy. Now, I get these from therapists, I get them from families, so they're really common questions, and I thought it was about time that we actually answered the truth about a lot of these things because there are some misconceptions out there. So stick with it. If you have other questions that I don't handle today, please feel free to comment in the section below, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have. But let's get started. Our top 8 online therapy questions. So our first question, does online therapy actually work? I think that's the biggest question that I get of any question. And the short answer is yes. Now, telepractice or online therapy is a newer subset of the field of anything, of speech therapy, of occupational therapy, of mental health counseling, anything that you might be doing, even seeing your doctor, for a sinus infection. Doing it online is obviously a lot newer than the field of that medicine or practice itself. So in the case of speech pathology, I'm a speech language pathologist. We've been practicing this since the time of Demosthenes back in Greece, and we had, research studies from the 20s and 30s. And online practice has really only been a thing since about the 90s, really, when we started to get internet, right? So the beginning research, it's beginning because it's so new, but the beginning research is good. It's showing that we're getting the same sort of results, if not better sometimes, with telepractice as we do in person. I will say that we need to have more research done, but that's going to come with time just because it is so new. So the short answer is yes. And the key thing to keep in mind here is that it's because online therapy is not a different service. It's just a different type of service delivery. So it should have the same quality, the same standards, the same ethics, everything that you would expect as in-person service, just as you would online. Okay, number 2, what does it actually look like? I am going to put in this video a quick little bit of a session that I actually did. Now, it's not the greatest session, but I use it on purpose to show that even when things don't go perfectly, you can still make online therapy work. The kid's in the car, he's having a little bit of trouble understanding me, but we still got through a really good session. So hang tight here and watch this video to see what an actual online therapy session looks like.
See if we can find where he is. Ooh, nicely done. Okay. We're going to say the word cookie in a sentence. First, let's try it just as cookie.
Cookie.
Very good. We baked peanut butter cookies last night.
We made what?
Peanut butter cookies.
We made peanut butter cookies?
Very good. Peanut butter cookies. Now go all the way down to the end and fire. You got it. ST is here on the left in the pink spaceship, and SK is on the right in the yellow spaceship. So here we have tusk. Yes, the SK sound at the end. Let me hear you say tusk. Skunk. Very good. Excellent.
Stamp or something?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you picked up skeleton.
Still here anyway.
Oh!
How do I mute? I tried to pick up stamp, but
you got skeleton. Yeah, sometimes it's a little funny.
So hopefully that was helpful, seeing me in action doing online therapy. Now, of course, every session is going to be a little bit different. You might have something different if you're working with a doctor versus an occupational therapist. But in general, that's what it looks like. You're typically going to have each person on a camera. Each person has a microphone and speaker or a headset. And then you would do what you normally do. You ask the same questions. The doctor asks the same questions that they would. The therapist works on the same sort of things that they would. It's just a different modality. Okay, number 3, can you do evaluations online? I get asked this all the time, especially by therapists. And yes, you definitely can. This goes back to the question of the research. Now, the research, again, is still coming out because it's just so new. But what they're showing is that there is evidence that the standardized assessments that we have, let's say that you're evaluating articulation, we use a test called the Goldman-Fristow. Goldman-Fristow test of articulation, 3rd edition, they are showing is just as valid online as it is in person. Now, the important thing about any evaluation that you have done is that a standardized test doesn't encompass the entire evaluation. It's just a piece of it. So even if these test scores weren't perfect online, your therapist or your doctor should be taking into account the entire picture of the person. So the short answer is yes, you can do them online. The beginning research is good. Of course, we need more research, but yeah, you're going to get pretty similar results even if you do it online. Number 4, can you work with very young children? So when I say very young, I mean like the birth to 3 population, maybe even going up to 5 when we're still a little squiggly wiggly. The short answer again is yes, you can do online therapy with very young children. And people get a little intimidated by this because they don't know what it would look like. So I'm going to splice in another short piece of video here so that you can see what an early intervention or birth to 3 session looks like. It involves a lot of parent coaching or involvement with the parent to direct them in the way that you want them to interact with the child. And this is exactly what we would do in person as well. So it's really not too different of a model. It's just that you are on camera. So check this video out, see if that kind of explains how you can do online therapy with young children.
Are you making a pizza? Is that your pepperoni on the pizza? Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to share my Play-Doh. There we go. There's my Play-Doh. Do you see my Play-Doh? Hey, Miss Kitty. I'm going to make something. I'm going to make a elephant. Oh, look at my elephant. Yay, look. Oh, I have remember our story with an elephant? Our story with an elephant, wasn't that polar bear with the elephant? Polar bear, what do you hear? Look at that elephant. And I made one.
Okay, great. So I hope that video was helpful and gave you a little bit more insight into what that session would look like. Number 5, can you work with moderate to severe cases? When I say moderate to severe, what I mean is if you have a diagnosis that is rated more severely on the scale from normal to significantly impacted, normal being average, no change in function whatsoever, you're not coming to see a therapist or a doctor for any problem. And again, the short answer is yes. Now, you're going to have to find a therapist who may be a little bit more skilled in using telepractice. Sometimes when we start out in online therapy, we may be used to the more mild to moderate side of things. A lot of the times when we're working in schools, we get a lot of articulation and language and maybe some social skills, but we may not get as much with like autism or significant behavioral differences or kids with hearing impairment or Down syndrome. And that's not to say that we can't work with those kids. It really is just about who you have in the room to help facilitate the session and the therapist's understanding of how they can use telepractice to the best ability. So again, short answer is yes. Just make sure that you are talking with your therapist about the best ways to help that person. Number 6. Is it, online therapy, only available in schools? This is a common misconception that you can only get online therapy through schools, and this is because a lot of schools have recently started using it. I think we've all seen, if you've been going to like an outpatient clinic or perhaps even a hospital with all that happened with COVID, no, it's not just schools. You can do online therapy in any setting. You could do it for hospitals, you can do it for outpatient, you can do it for schools. So it really just depends on where you need to get your services. Number 7, what do I need to get started? Whether you are a therapist or a family looking for services, there's just a couple things that you need to get started. First, you're going to need a computer. I would recommend a laptop or a desktop, either PC or Mac, but I wouldn't recommend that you use your main device as an iPad or tablet or a Chromebook. And the reason that I say this is that it limits the functionality of what you can do in the session. For example, if you have a Chromebook and your therapist tries to share mouse control so that, let's say, your kid can click on different things in an online game that we're sharing a screen, the Chromebook won't allow you to do that. And that's just some functionality issues with the Chromebook itself. So I would recommend that you have a basic laptop or desktop. You'll also need a webcam. You'll need some sort of microphone and speaker, whether it's a headset and it's all included, or you've got like a microphone on your laptop and the speaker's coming through that, or a desktop microphone. There's a bunch of ways that you can do it. I would recommend having a physical keyboard and a physical mouse. Now, for the little itty bitty ones or people who maybe have motility issues, that may not be something that's as important if they're not using the mouse and the keyboard. But for the vast majority of people who are using online therapy, that will be important that they have access to those. You will also need access to high-speed internet. And when I say high speed, I'm not going to give an official number. I would say at least more than 10 megabytes per second. But if you can get faster than that, that's great. And you can do online speed tests. I will put a link in the description below if you want to do a speed test for your own internet just to see kind of where you're at. What you pay for is not what you get, unfortunately. So if you pay for those 10 megabytes per second, you're probably going to get closer to 3 to 5 just with the way that the internet service providers work. So the more that you spend on it, unfortunately, the better you're going to get in terms of your bandwidth. So that's something to have. So laptop, webcam, some way to hear and speak, headset, for example. A keyboard and mouse is very much preferred, and then access to high-speed internet. You have those 5 things, and you should be ready to go to get your telepractice or online therapy started. Number 8, our last question. How can I find a therapist in my area? Now, if you're getting it through schools, it will automatically be assigned to you, this therapist, because your child is getting therapy through the schools, and they're offered that service through FAPE, Free and Appropriate Public Education, as a part of their IEP. If you're not doing it through schools and you're looking for somebody in outpatient, the best way to find them is online. There is the ASHA ProFind, which I will put a link to in the description, where you can find therapists in general in your state, but the search directory for the ASHA ProFind doesn't yet say if people are doing telepractice. So that's a little confusing. You might find somebody who's in your area, they're licensed in your state, which they need to be, but they're not providing telepractice or online therapy, which is what you want. So another good way is to simply do a Google search and look for, occupational therapist in my area or online occupational therapy. And you can put your area, or you can just put the online whatever service it is that you're looking for. More and more therapists who are trying to show that they're out there for online therapy are really doing a lot of work through Google and getting ranked high on their search results so that you can find them. So those are the 2 recommendations that I would have if you're looking for a speech therapist. You can look at the ASHA ProFind. If you're looking for a doctor, similarly, you can go to like Teladoc or those virtual care websites and look for a doctor on a directory. Or you can simply do a Google search for somebody that is in your area providing that service. All right, guys, that's the big 8 questions that I get. I hope that was helpful. Like I said, if you have other questions about online therapy and how this all works, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. If you hit that little bell notification, you will get told that we came out with a new video, which is about every week we try to do that. So I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much and have a good one.